Hello, Saph here. What you're about to see is a longish clip of me yapping to chat about a recent Limbus Company fandom drama that occurred relatively recently about an artist nicknamed Moony, or at @past_desiderium. This video style is not the norm, but I felt it appropriate to post it on this channel since it is still drama related, just fandom. Also, obviously, please do not harass anyone mentioned in this video. In addition, I have put timestamps for various sections, and there will be some extra stuff on the Moony situation that came out after this yap session that I did on stream. So sit back, relax, put me on in the background if you like as I yap away. Enjoy! Oh, yeah, so I downloaded Paint Tool Sai recently again, mostly because, okay, like, I was going to talk about this like last stream, but I kind of forgot because we just got sidetracked constantly. But there was that whole like drama in the Project Moon community with this person named like Moony, aka at @past_desiderium or whatever. And this person was a Honglu Yume shipper. And if you don't know what a Yume shipper is somebody who ships themselves like their OC with a character. Like for instance, I am a Yume shipper with Sancho or Don Quixote, but preferably Sancho because I am a little bit picky. I like the vampire aspect of things. But anyway, so that Moony person, they've kind of always been a little bit weird, in my opinion. I first kind of blipped them on my radar because like a while ago somebody else like kind of called them out for being like, I don't really like that one artist who always draws like their Yume ship with Honglu because they're super like protective over Honglu or whatever. I totally forgot what it was. I remember I posted in the Discord though. I forgot what it was, but I kind of thought that was like weird. But then like all of that Yume shippers fans on Twitter were kind of like, oh, how dare you say such bad things, you're the reason why the fandom's so fucking toxic, blah 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 blah, and like basically just like white knighting the artist. And I'm just like, okay, well I don't know what's going on here because this is like the first time that I heard any like bad thing about Moony, right? So yeah, so there was that whole situation, and then that's how that person first blipped onto my radar. And then I kind of like looked back at their media and I was like, oh, I did like some of their Honglu art, but I always ignore their Yume shipping art because I don't care about your Yume ship. Which sounds hypocritical of me to say, but because like I am a Yume shipper and I do draw stuff with like me, like my Yume ship with like Don Quixote, but like for me personally, I'm just kind of like, I'm not really into like whatever they got going on, you know. Like some of it's cute, right? But it's just like whatever, you know. It's like if it doesn't bother me, I just ignore it, you know, just like whatever. But it came like about like a month or two later after that like first initial call out incident, where then I saw, I think this was a little bit after Honglu's Canto like finished up, right? And then they drew like, I think, yeah, they drew this art of like Honglu in the rain, like he's like kind of like looking up a little bit, his hands are out, and he's kind of like, you know, it's just a solo pic. And I was like, okay, I can like that. And then there's a lot of comments on it. It blew up within the fandom. And then I think there's a post made afterwards being like, from Moony, being like, hey, I only I forgot what it was, but the point was of their tweet was Honglu is mine, essentially. Like, I don't want to ship Honglu with anybody else, and you know, so basically being like a very selfish Yume shipper, which is, in my opinion, kind of cringe, because like, okay, like I get, you know, when you Yume ship, you know, you really like that character and you want them to be yours. I understand that, but when you're in a fandom, being openly selfish and basically being like, no, I only see Honglu with me, I don't really care about like everybody else, like Yume shipping or any other Honglu ship with Honglu involved, like no, that's not allowed. That's when I kind of have an issue, because like then you're kind of like being toxic. within the fandom itself, because you're either like they're basically saying like, if you don't like that, then you should mute or block me. And so I took their advice. I was like, all right, you're kind of cringe and I don't like the way that you're going about things in fandom and I'm too old for this shit, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute them. And that's basically what I did. I just muted them because I'm just like, fuck it. I don't really, it's like, I don't care if your art is good and a billion people like it. I don't give a fuck. There's other people who draw Honglu, whatever, you know? I'm not missing out from this one Yume shipper being cringe as fuck, right? And then, in the past week, I don't know what the fuck this person did. I don't know what the fuck Moony did, but she managed to piss off the Eastern fandom at like Chinese artists, Japanese artists, Korean artists. They all had, most of it was the Chinese fandom though. Most of it was the Chinese fandom from most of the things that I've seen. Basically all said, hey, that one Honglu Yume shipper does AI art. And I'm like, oh shit, what? And then that's when I went ahead and I looked into that person's meeting, because I'm fucking, because it wasn't just one tweet, right? It wasn't just one tweet. It was 3 tweets when I refreshed my timeline. And if it's 3 tweets from 3 different people, and it's on my timeline, you know it's something going on. Because like, I do have a drama feed on Twitter, right? Yeah, I do have a drama feed on Twitter, but typically it's VTuber stuff, not Limbus Company fandom art drama stuff, right? Like that's just different. The Chinese fandom, whatever they did, were just like, hey, like, I don't know what the fuck this Moony person did to them, but they basically were just like, yeah, this person does AI art. and then everyone was like, and there's debate being like, well, are you guys just saying that? Like, because like she has her like white knights, her blind followers being like, oh no, like, you know, she could never, you guys are just falsely accusing anyone of AI just because you don't like them. But then you had the artists, like the actual, because all the people who are calling her out were actual artists, people who do fan art already in the fandom. We're like, no, we can see that this is AI fan art, or AI assisted or AI generated, I don't know. And they went ahead and like posted screenshots being like, you know, if you are really an artist, you wouldn't have these inconsistencies and all sorts of things. But hold on, I'm gonna pause really quick to go read everybody's stuff, because I would just rant. Yume shipping is fine as long as it's not like they are my waifu or husbando. No one else is allowed to shrimp. Brony community was bad at this. Yeah, like Yume shipping is fine, but as soon as you start saying they're mine and no one else can have them, then you're just fucking cringe. Then you're just a fucking cringe, right? Because like I joke around, right? I joke around that, like, you know, like Z-Chun is cucking me. Even that brief bit with the third Kinjun Merceau, it was cucking me, right? But that's kind of a joke. I don't actually like. First of all, anything that happens in canon is what happens in canon, right? I can't control anything about that, right? And that's just like one of the things with being a shipper, is that you have to adjust to canon. Unless you're one of those people who want to, quote, fix canon or do canon like alternate stuff, like whatever you want, right? But generally, as long as something's like still going and still okay, it's kind of weird to do that in my opinion. But you know, but to each their own, right? But like, I'm not being like actual selfish about it, because I don't care. I still like some Z-Chun and Dawn or Sancho art because they're cute. They're just cute, right? It's just like I'm not that picky, and I'm not actually selfish. But some people who are just unironically be like, nope, only me, and only my Yume with that character. And I just think that's kind of cringe. It reminds me of YouTube stream a while back. There was a Honglu shipper that I misinterpret as bantering, but that was actually really salty. Is that a consistent thing across Honglu related shippers? I don't think it's a Honglu related shipper thing. I just think it's the PM fandom in general. There's a lot of young people in the Project Moon fandom, and a lot of that youngness is the reason why a lot of the fandom comes across as immature, because it's like, this is basically what I think about when it comes to fandom in general. What I see in the Limbus company, like the Limbus Twitter, is what I saw on Tumblr fandom. like the fandoms on Tumblr, where you have you put a lot of young people together. They, you know, they all kind of like attention. They all like, you know, interaction with other people. And like in some ways it's like, it can be good, but there are also lots of cases where as soon as somebody gets popular, then people think that they can do no wrong, right? And then like if you say anything bad about XYZ, who has a large following and like a very active fan base, therefore you are insulting their king/queen, typically a queen, and therefore you are bad and you deserve to get canceled back. Like it's that kind of mentality that I don't like in fandom culture as a whole, is that you have a lot of young people who tend to get a big fandom, and then also because they're young, they're also stupid, and they also are very immature, and then also foster an immature fan base. This is just coming from somebody who's just been in a lot of fandom places. I've never been a big name fan. Big name fan is unfortunately a outdated term. I'm too old for this shit now. Now it's just, I don't know, a big account. Big account with like 10K plus followers or whatever, because a lot of people get blinded by the fact that like, oh, this person has like 10,000 people, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 followers on Twitter, so that means they are like they are like super good, they can do no wrong, etc., and like it's just kind of cringe. That's all I'm gonna say is kind of cringe. Like, for the most part, like, yeah, they probably did something to deserve their big fan base, but most of the times it's just like, especially in fandom, it's just like, I don't know. It's unhealthy parasocial at that point too. Yeah, pretty much. Gatekeeping and self-serving within a whole community is very main character syndroming. Yeah, pretty much. Like it, and that Yume shipper really liked talking about, like, really liked her Yume ship. People were giving her like Yume ship art within her straw page and everything, and like, I think it just all got to their head, honestly. Exact opposite of my mindset. That's why even though Haru Urara is my daughter, you're allowed to adopt her too. She needs all the love. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to have an open mindset when it comes to fan bases, because you can't take something that isn't even your own creation, like, you know, a character that isn't even your own creation, minus your Yume, right? But you can't take the other canon character that other people like and be like, no, that's mine only. Everybody else, you're not allowed. Like, that's just weird. That's cringe, selfish, and just overall just like not good. Young people tend to be cliquey. Yeah. I mean, it's just like the whole, like, you know, they want to be accepted. They like, you know, people saying nice things to them. I get it. We were all teenagers once, right? We were all teenagers. We all wanted some sort of acceptance. Probably a lot of us were potentially isolated because we're weird. But, you know, like, it's just, I understand the mindset that these kids go through. It just unfortunately leads to a lot more problems than it does actually good things. I have seldom seen people who have gotten a big following and turned out to, and who get really active in the fandom, like really like open, like, you know, open up about their, like, you know, life and stuff, and then not turn out to be a not shitty person. The only people who I've seen who have gotten big and then never got into any controversy and was like generally okay, like neutral or positive, are purely artists who only do art and don't really engage with everybody else besides, you know, everyone who says like, oh, your art's really cool today. And they're like, oh, thank you. And then like, that's it. As soon as they start putting their opinions out there, it kind of goes a little iffy. It kind of goes a little iffy. It's okay to like fandom stuff, but when you take it too seriously to that point, it's like, please stop. Yeah. And you know, the biggest red flags in fandoms are the people who call themselves the fandom mom. I have not seen anyone who said that they're the fandom dad, but that would also be the equivalent of something that's a red flag. Anyone who self-identifies as, oh, everyone considers me the fandom mom, it doesn't even have to be fandom, just in general, just community mom or something, it's a red flag. Every person I've met who has identified that I'm the, like, that they're the mom of a community has always turned out to be a shitty person. And the people who stand up for those people, blind devotion, fucking white knight dumbasses who can't see the truth because they're literally too parasocial. I don't know what it is, but that has been my red flag, is that people who identify as that. Now, that being said, Moony is not that kind of person, but that's just my opinion of things in the past. I saw somebody in the Steven Universe fandom who identified as a mom. And then turns out later there was some weird controversy with them, and a lot of people just wound up hating them, except for the people who really were diehard fans. I forgot who it was, but it was an artist within the Steven Universe fandom on Tumblr. Oh god, acting like they have some kind of authority. It's so dumb. Yeah, authority in fandom is dumb. Self-claiming as a mom is just super cringe, like the whole nice guy kind of people. Yeah, and typically these people are not nice, especially if you like criticize them and then they don't take the criticism well, which typically most of the times they don't. Yeah, it never goes well. Because most of the times that these like quote moms get called out is because they did something really fucked up and no one called them out on it because they're too big, they're too popular, but someone has the balls to be like, hey, I don't think XYZ said, like, you know, they said something really fucked up, right? And then other people are like, yeah, I kind of realized that too, but the only reason I don't speak up is because that person's fans are gonna come after me. And like, because a lot of people speaking up are the young, like, you know, smaller people who have no really fan base to speak of. But then usually after some point, people are like, yeah, you know what, you're kind of right. And typically, usually when the mom person sees this criticism, they start going, oh, everyone's harassing me. Oh, I'm getting death threats. Oh, I have a lot of mental illness problems. How could you guys do this to me? I'm gonna fucking unalive myself now. And it's just, trust me, I've been in a fandom long enough too. I've been in a fandom long enough for seeing all this fucking bullshit. It's not often I get to talk about fandom. Anyway, back to the Moony situation on Project Moon fandom. Where did I leave off? Oh yeah, so the Chinese fandom, for whatever reason, decided to call out Moony. I don't know what the fuck they did to piss off multiple Chinese artists in the Project Moon fandom. I think it might be because of Hong Lu, because Hong Lu is like their representative character, and I feel like a lot of people just didn't like this person because of their whole selfish Yume shipping thing with Hong Lu and was really cringe. I've heard through the grapevines, though I'm not entirely sure how true this is, that Moony has said phobic things. I forgot what phobic things. I think maybe homophobic sort of things, or some sort of phobic things. They said problematic things, and something about like Hong Greg shippers or something. I don't know. It could also be that other people are mixing Moony up with another person who did actually pick fights with, I believe, Hong Greg people, and then called them like pedophiles or whatever. Because one artist did draw like some sort of weird, like, I think either lolly or shota or something, but then like the other artist didn't draw that, but they all like that same ship, so they all kind of got caught in the crossfire, and that was part of the CN fandom. So like I just think a lot of Eastern fandoms doesn't have a good view of Western fandom Limbus twit, which honestly, not surprised. Most times Eastern fandom doesn't like the Western fandom because the Western fandom is fucking stupid. But yeah, so Moony pissed off the Eastern fandom, and that includes Nishikuji. That includes Nishikuji, who has subtweeted during the Moony situation twice, okay? And like, I know Nishikuji isn't necessarily like, you know, like, what is it? Like, they are somebody, they're a very big artist, but they typically like don't really get involved in like anything. They just do art for the most part, right? Or at least that's the only times I've ever seen their tweets to show up on my timeline. I have no doubt that they probably say some stuff, but usually like their non-art tweets don't really show up on my timeline. That's just how it works for most artists in general. But if I was somebody and Nishikuji decided to subtweet me twice, I think I would just shrivel up and just die. I don't know. Because I'm just like, how do you manage to piss off a really big artist who's gonna subtweet you being like, no, please don't use AI. And then there's something else that they said. There's something else that they said. Was it about like how Honglu would be disappointed or something? I don't know anymore. But they were 100% subtweeting Moony, and literally I think I would just explode if a really big Eastern artist who typically doesn't get into drama decides to fucking subtweet about me. I would literally just be like, I'm just never gonna touch the fandom again. You know what I mean? Like. But yeah, anyway, so it turns out that person got a lot of AI accusations thrown at them. I went ahead and looked into their media tab because, like, usually, like, you know, when someone says XYZ is using AI and supposedly it's been like that for like a year, I just went ahead and just went to the media tab and started scrolling. I did look at them, and I can kind of see something that kind of resembles, like, it kind of does to an extent give like AI-ish vibes, right? I can see it. And then there's one that I saw in particular, which is Honglu, like a younger Honglu, like with the polearm behind his back. And then for whatever fucking reason, his thumb or his index finger was not anywhere consistent with how it should be around a polearm. It looked like it was like melted like around it, and like that's definitely not how fingers work, right? Especially because Moony in the past, before that art, has shown capabilities of being able to draw something like hands. Like, I get hands are hard, right? Like, I struggle with them, but I'm not really much of an artist in general in the first place. Although I was really happy with my Dawn art yesterday, but that's besides the point. Like, I get hands kind of fucking suck, right? I get that sucks, but you don't make it curl around a polearm like that without like having a semblance of bones. Because you just don't do that, right? You just don't do that. I just got like, okay, well that's a first bad indicator, right? Because if we're believing that Moony isn't using AI, her skills in terms of anatomy and stuff should not mean that her hands look like dog shit, right? Because it just shouldn't be like that. And then you just keep going down. There's some other things with, like, you know, people being like, hey, I got this commission of Yiseng and Faust, but here's the work in progress they give me, which was like a really like basic AF sketch, and then just immediate almost done picture, and then the done rendered picture with like more effects on it, which is already semi a red flag. Because first of all, I don't know how many artists can actually do a nice clean sketch with very minimal lines and everything. But typically when I've seen sketches, they're kind of like, you know, a sketch, and then they give you a line art, and then they give you flat colors, and then they give you basic shading, and then they give you the finished product. That's usually how it goes when it comes to art commissions, right? And I think the issue is that Moony did take commissions, and that's why a lot of the Eastern fandom was like, hey, like, this person's using AI art and they're doing commissions, they're stealing money from you. So it's not like, you know, that's something to be warned about. Could have been a Photoshop editing error she overlooked. No, it was not a Photoshop error you could overlook, because trust me, there was a lot of evidence that kind of suggested that this person did use AI assistance, which is not something you can mistakenly do. And there's other aspects too, like, you know, certain details, like say flowers, for instance, they kind of didn't really look like flowers. They kind of look like blobs, like a flower shaped outline, but then like the rest of the inner outline is kind of like not really defined. And I get flowers can be kind of difficult, right? But if you're a skilled artist, you shouldn't struggle with even making something resembling a flower in more detailed ways, because like even I can probably half-ass a decent flower and it won't look anything like how AI would make a flower. because like you could see that like for me, like I would be able to draw like something resembling a flower, and then AI kind of like makes the flower outline and like colors it like a flower, but then the insides are kind of all muddy and like, you know, warped and everything, and that's weird. That's weird. Like, this is usually how you can tell what is AI and what isn't. For now, AI has definitely gotten way better to the point where it's getting harder to tell. And now non-artists are pretty much the ones who won't know how to tell anymore, except that's when you need an artist, and usually typically lots of artist opinions to be able to tell you, yeah, that's weird. And yeah, there is some level of like, oh, well, maybe it could have been overlooked, but you cannot overlook certain errors. Because like there's other things too, like the eyes, for instance. The eye shading was off on one. Like eye one looks good, the other eye looks funky. That doesn't typically happen. Especially when everything else looks polished and rendered. There's certain like inconsistencies, like constant inconsistencies like that is weird. That's the weird thing. I've seen AI enhancement before, and it definitely takes an after revision if they really want it to not look as AI. Yeah, because like there are some people who do like, you know, they take an AI picture and then they edit things on top, which I think is what Moony was doing. But here's the thing too, is that Moony can draw. They did draw authentic things in 2024, but then like there was definitely a period where you could see that all of a sudden their art went from like, you know, kind of like amateurish, but still good, still passable, to suddenly AI, to suddenly like looking more like the Limbus style kind of dealio, and like you can't really do that much of an artistic leap over the course of a month, unless you're like super duper practiced. But even then, I still think there are like, you would still see some sort of natural progression. But for her, it looked very kind of, you could kind of tell when the AI started getting used. I did see a timeline, like someone had posted like, this is what their art looked like in 2024, and this is like, you could just see the progression there. And then there was definitely a part there where I was kind of like, yeah, that looks a little weird. Why people still use AI when it's always called on, obviously it's not accepted. Yeah, well, I think it's because for a while this person also managed to get by for basically a year. This artist can draw, but for whatever reason, she decided to suddenly do like AI assisted stuff. She did admit during this controversy that she used Waifu 2X, which is, I believe, a image upscaler. But an image upscaler doesn't necessarily kind of do the problems that we discussed, because like, you know, like it just kind of doesn't really do like anatomical fixes. It just kind of like makes things bigger, and then kind of like, you know, tries to get rid of the pixelization a little bit. It does kind of look like it can potentially make some things look melty. It can, but it wouldn't do something like the hand problem, like the finger problem, the finger around the pole arm problem. But here's the issue with Moony's explanation as to why they used Waifu 2X. They said that they drew art and then they put so many effects that it makes the art a fourth smaller than what it should be. And I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but when you add effects to your art doesn't shrink. Your art shouldn't shrink when you add effects to it. So like, I don't know what the fuck that means, but that sounds like bullshit is basically what it sounds like. They render it at a lower resolution. From what it sounds like they had an image, and then they said that they put 1 billion effects in there, and then that caused the image to look a fourth of what it should be, and then they had to upscale it. But that's not how art works. That's just not how art works. It's just not how it works. You just can't do that. What effect did they use? Did they throw it in the dryer? Yeah, they did throw that. Like they did. It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. Never heard of effects compressing your image? Yeah, your effects don't get compressed when you put effects on your art. And if your art does suffer because of the effects you're putting on it, guess what? Take off the fucking layer. Get rid of the layer. If your layer is compressing your art, you're doing something wrong. And then it turns out this Moony person, like, shit just goes a little bit deeper than what we just saw. It's not just the AI usage. They're also just not a good person in terms of the whole, like, well, first of all, as I said earlier, they had some sort of phobic tweets that apparently people have heard in passing, maybe have seen in passing. No, I haven't seen evidence of it, but so I'm taking that with like a partial grain of salt. But I do recall there are controversies about this person in the fandom. But from my personal experience, I just didn't like this person because they're a selfish human shipper, and that's cringe. Okay, like it's just it. I was just like, I don't care how good your art is. If you're gonna be a selfish bitch about it, I'm not gonna support you because you're just a dog shit person. I'm sorry. I care about the person behind the art, and if your personality is dog shit, I don't want to deal with it. I don't care how good your art is. I ain't having it. Same goes with like people who do like if supposedly anyone does like really good Sancho art. And then they're like, Sancho can only be with me. Nobody else. I'm gonna be like, all right, I'll go find other Sancho artists then. Fuck you. Like, but yeah, so that person was being weird. And then turns out, like, so there's like a whole bunch of evidence from various people, you know, who are like, yeah, that's this kind of AI is kind of sus, you know. And then Moony didn't react well to the criticism, right? Moony first gave a few excuses of like, oh, well, all the medication I take makes it so that like that's why the eye rendering looks weird, right? It's because of all the medication I take. That's why everything looks blurry, kind of melty at some points. And people are like, you are not using your medication as an excuse for why your shit looks AI. There's no fucking shot that you're actually doing that. And then I think Moony deleted it. Moony deleted that eventually when she got enough backlash, enough people clowning on her for that L take, because like if you can render everything else like a fucking goddess, but then your eyes are kind of melty, it's not your medication. That's not your medication. You cannot blame the fucking medication. And then, so then other people are just kind of like, okay, well, here's an easy way to solve the problem. Give us a what is it? Speed art? You know that thing where like you speed paint, you know, like of like, you know, like the recording of like when you have like the blank canvas to the finished product and you go through the sketch and everything, it's like super duper fast. People just like, you can just give us that. Or you can give us a screenshot of all the layers, or like a video recording of your screen going through all the layers, toggling them on and off, and you know, so people can go see, right? Moony was giving excuses as to why they can't do a screen recording or they can't do a speed paint because they're like, oh, well, I don't have an iPad. I don't have a 40K computer to be able to give you that sort of file, which like people are like, what? Because in most art programs these days, you can get the speed paint, like it's just built into the program. I think they use Paint Tool Sci, which I don't think has that capability, at least not Paint Tool Sci 1. I don't know about Paint Tool Sci 2, but if they were just using Paint Tool Sci 1, I don't think it has that. They then say they can't do Bandicam, and I'm pretty sure most people don't really know how to use OBS unless you become a streamer. But she was like, I can't use Bandicam because it causes something to lag. I don't really know what that means. Because if you're just toggling on and off your layers, it doesn't matter if there's lag. Because it's not like it's gonna be a fluid thing anyway. Time lapse. There we go. Time lapse. Thank you. I brain farted really hard. It's not that demanding. Yeah, like it's not that demanding to do. She couldn't provide that, and then people are just like, okay, well, just give us like your layers and stuff. And then like, because initially Moony was like, oh, but like, you know, you guys are saying like you guys are picking out all these things recently, but I have shown work in progress in the past. I think on her private account now, or like her priv, like the account that is like not her art account, which I didn't know until basically after everything went to shit, basically. So, because she locked everything down afterwards. But she like, you know, she was like, I posted work in progress before, so therefore, you know, like I can't be an AI artist, you know. But then people are like, okay, well, we just pointed out these specific these specific problems and these specific art pieces. Can you just go ahead and just show us the layers there? And then so Moony was like, okay, well, I can't show you those layers because here's what happens when I try to save the art is that she gets an error when she tries to save the as like .sci or whatever. So like apparently she just doesn't save any of her work. She just draws everything, completes it, renders it completely perfectly, and then just doesn't ever save it. Which sounds like bullshit to me. Okay, I'm gonna be so for real. That sounds like bullshit to me. And then eventually, like after like almost 24 hours, she did post a GIF of that's kind of like a time lapse, but not necessarily, because it has only certain layers and it doesn't have all of them. But with that one little time lapse, you can definitely see inconsistencies with her initial sketch, which is still a little too clean for an initial sketch, right? But her initial sketch has more of her actual art style. And then right afterwards, it's suddenly the AI style. So like the very first image I believe is authentic. That is authentically hers. And then after that is the rendered, the AI assisted art of Honglu. Because like there's just no fucking shot. And then eventually, like, you know, then it goes to like, you know, having the base flat colors, and then she like zooms in certain areas and all sorts of things. But it's just overall sus. Everything about it is just sus. Because it's like, no, this is just too sus. And then there was also a peacock in there, but then the peacock didn't like show up at the end. And then overall his pose didn't make sense if I had to really think about it. No one ever commented about the pose, because it's him with doing the whole like, you know, like the okay finger like over his eye, because that's like what it is in one of the pictures of him, like from like in canon. But for this one, it was in the center of his forehead, so it's not even on an eye. So he's just doing an okay symbol on his forehead, and that makes no sense to me. It's just like that should be on an eye, not over his forehead, but whatever. Okay. But anyway, the peacock is gone too, and I was just like, okay, well, what happened to the peacock? The peacock would have been really cool. It just disappeared all of a sudden. So Moony posted that, and then was like, yeah, and then that's the reason I can't save is because I get this error. And then like I think when she was like showing something, or either trying to save or trying to open like an old file, I don't remember. But something about like there's one that was like 2022 or something. Like when she was trying to save or like open something, it was from 2022, and that gave the error. And that again is still not any of the images that we asked for. And the layers, the showing of the layers, everything was in folders. All the layers were into folders, and she didn't open up any of the folders. And then she didn't, you know, go through all the layers individually. So overall, it's just everything was very sus about that Moony person. And then eventually she deactivated her Twitter. So after that, after a lot of people were just kind of like, what the fuck is this? Just everything, she just deactivated everything, just poofed into the ether. Except for her priv, which is still up, but it's privated. And then I think she privated her VK, which is just Facebook, but for Russians. Because Moony is Russian, and as far as I know, we did dig a little bit deeper into the situation because we were curious and a little bit nosy, but life be like that. And then it turns out that there's some people that she did art trades with, and like at least 2 or 3 people fulfilled their end of the deal, giving her, you know, art of her Yume with Honglu. They're very cute art, right? And then Moony said like, oh yeah, I'm busy with like, you know, my college or diploma or whatever. So, you know, it's gonna take me like a month to get back to you to get you your art. And then it just never happened. And that was like in January, I believe. So like it's been like 10 months and she couldn't even generate them art. Isn't that neat? And that's really about it for the Moony situation, as I know for now. I just know a lot of Eastern fandom like dunked on her. A lot of, because like it started with the CN fandom, and then I think some like Japanese and Korean people got involved too. But mostly like on the sidelines, being like, yeah, you know, that person was kind of sus. I don't really vibe with them. And then you had a lot of Western people who were like kind of disappointed, being like, oh, I really liked Moony's art, but now I don't know who's right and who's wrong. But you know, Moony, everyone basically came to the conclusion that Moony handled everything poorly. Because people weren't really asking much of her. If you are a genuine artist and you did everything authentically, you would be able to just be like, okay, if you really want this layer, if you really want this art piece, you know, the whole every nitty gritty, I would just give you the fucking file. Here, go see it, go see for yourself, you know, like, so that you can't like fucking accuse me of AI art. But the fact that she couldn't give them that for the art that was criticized, it just looks really sus. Because like, I don't know about you, I'm not a pro artist or anything, but I do have all the files of the art that I've drawn. So like, I don't care if they're old and they look like crap, I still have all the files. The only times they ever get deleted is if it's been like 2+ years and I'm moving to a different computer, right? So yeah, but anyway, so that's the whole Moony situation. The very sus person. Personally, I never really fuck with them because they're cringe, right? So I just thought I took this as a case of like, I eat popcorn while I watch everything unfold. Because that's kind of basically what happened. And seeing other people that like I follow in the fandom talk about it, because like I follow them for their art, and then them talking about the situation. And then these are like Eastern fans, like, or Eastern artists that I'm following. And then like, because like here's the thing with Twitter is that they do an auto translate feature now. Whenever you see like tweets show up on your thing, it's just, if it's not in English, it'll auto translate to English for me. So so I get to see all the fucking crude remarks that everybody from the Eastern fandom is saying, just raw, unfiltered, and just like on my timeline. So I get to see them talk shit. I get to see them talking mad shit. So I'm like, okay. That's interesting. All that time wasted when it was AI, sorry, could have solved it immediately. Yeah, but you can't say that, because then everyone would mass unfollow her and never trust her ever again. She can't lose her clout, you know. You need to have some plausible deniability. SMH. I think the motto of this story, the moral of this story is, just because somebody's really big in a fandom doesn't mean you have to blindly accept everything that they do as gospel. All right? This is just true of any fandom. Any fandom. I don't care how big they are. It doesn't mean they're a perfect god or goddess, okay? They're all people. And these days, a lot of people will do anything just to get a lick of clout these days. So I checked back on Twitter while editing all this. I found a thread made by one of the people doing the call-out outlining the art inconsistencies in Moony's art. The interesting part here is they showed how Waifu 2X works with a rough sketch that they asked another artist to do to mimic an amateur artist. You can see that with the upscaler there is no noise, and if anything, it tries its best to make things crisper. You can see the comparison of just regular zooming in versus the upscaler's work. In addition, they showed how things looked when feeding the art into various models found on Google, and then a version where they fed it into a more character-specific model with some edits to try be more like how Moony would use it. There's some additional stuff about how AI generates anatomy and proportions in relation to the art given to it, and quite frankly, it went a little bit over my head, but here's some screenshots anyway. In addition, a Google Docie was made about Moony's behavior, specifically how rude Moony was to another Honglu Yume shipper who asked an innocent question only to be responded to rudely. She was too hesitant to speak up, so two of her friends did so, and in so doing, they got harassed by Moony's overly defensive and reactive fans. These two people got death threats in their straw page and in their replies and in their quote retweets about their posts. Moony also has a tendency to often say how much she wants to unalive because of people like this person's friends, but Moony says nothing to deter her fans from being rabid towards others who only wanted Moony to be more mindful about how rude she comes off to other people who are also mentally ill. Overall, Moony has been someone who has somehow fostered a large but parasocial fan base, all because she has posted consistently high-quality looking, quote, art, but in reality, this art of hers has most likely been fed into AI to enhance its quality instead of being purely authentically hers. I've seen some other inconsistencies from Moony's arts, even about her own self-insert character, and I'm inclined to believe this has to be AI assisted in some regard because I can't really see how you'd miss out on this big detail on her own character. Here's the supposed reference of her character from about 7 months ago. Here is her character about 6 months ago. And here is her character about 4 months ago. The supposed amalgamated arm is not consistent for her own self-insert, which leads to questions. This along with everything else already shared, but the fact that she couldn't give a proper reply and chose to deactivate her main, but still has a private account up, but private, is interesting. Either way, that's all on the Moony situation for now as it stands so far. Feel free to come to your own conclusions. I'm just the one looking at all these details, because no one else really does. Till next time, everyone, keep it vibing. Bye!